I think I winked when I first saw her, though I could be wrong. Perhaps I burped. I remember drinking a black cherry soda. The moment she emerged from around the corner, I nearly choked on the carbonation. She was the most delightful thing I had ever seen. It was early summer, and I had just failed my exams. Father didn't want me running around the capital in my usual drunken stupor, so he sent me to America to conduct research in the field. It was 1990, and the party was still zealously keeping tabs on any Tiananmen scum who'd fled to the west. I was to track them down, befriend them, infiltrate their networks, and find out what kind of support they were getting from those bastards in Washington. Since many of them were now teaching at provincial universities, I'd be stuck in the cornfields all summer. But that was before I'd seen her. One weekend was the 88th annual State Fair. My driver came to fetch me around noon. It was only mid-June, but it was hotter than a witch's pussy. I was fairly hungover from the night before, but my father insisted. Dad had considerable pull in Beijing, so even if I refused, my bodyguard would still see it that I attended. My assignment? Track down Wu Liao, a dissident writer then teaching chemistry at the State University, who'd be hosting a booth on Sichuan cuisine. Or folklore, the fuck if I know. I'd had to spend my entire Sunday commending that bastard spicy noodles. We stopped to get a six-pack on the way. The Americans were very confident that summer. Their famous little Cold War was finally winding down, and every gas station attendant seemed to think he was John Wayne. Meanwhile, the Russians were bending over for every Polish grandma with a wooden paddle. While the students in my own country, many of them former classmates, thought they'd bring the motherland to its knees. Oh, I'm no professor, but I'd be damned if I see a couple of jerk-off armchair revolutionaries who got an A in human geography serve China on a silver fucking platter. Or at least that's the chatter I'd hear that year at home. I was too busy trying to screw the local missionary's daughter to pay any attention to that sort of conversation. We turned off the highway and made for the giant cow. In the middle of a cornfield, they erected a 75-foot pink and brown bovine, an ode to the prosperity of the day. You had to pass through its legs and under its udders to enter the fairground. I couldn't quite feel the magic, but I trotted along nonetheless. I sent my driver after Wu, and I went straight after the cotton candy. My father had fought in the Korean War and said that the Yanks only fed him in captivity was cotton candy and uncarbonated cream soda. They wanted to starve and poison us, demoralize the revolutionary vanguard, sword by sword or tooth. Whatever the case, I had to try it for myself. I approached the burly merchant and gave him a thumbs up. 2 servings, please. He grunted and gave me a fistful of fluff. I bit into the pink world of emptiness and hated every moment. A few booths down was the farting necromancer. For a nation full of religious cracks, Americans loved a good witch, someone they could laugh at before they take him up to the scaffold. Not that I disagree, we also had our own boogeymen back home. Occasionally, I inform on a friend if they try to touch my girl. Different strokes for different blokes. The farting witch read my palm and began to moan, he mustn't, he mustn't, he must. I gave her a $5 and went down the line. My driver was soon back. Our man Wu was around the corner, entertaining a bevy of chicken farmers. We smoked a Newport and headed over. In order to fit in, I'd had a custom tracksuit made, starter brand from head to toe. I consulted my father on local sports team, and he said to go with the best high school colors. That's where all the big wigs would have played ball back in the day. So there I was, decked in salmon and turquoise, ready to go. Who could have possibly have known that love was around the corner? Wu was a squat little man, not much of a counter-revolutionary force if you ask me. That said, he had one hell of a big mouth. Who knew what these chicken farmers might be learning about the fatherland if he got into their heads? I bought a corn dog and approached the stand. I hear Sichuan has nothing on this country's cuisine. Why don't you give us a free sample then to confirm? He smiled and handed me a toothpick full of peppercorns. I sneered and lifted them to my mouth. Sure, they had a kick. I motioned my driver to hand me another pop soda. The rest is still a blur. Before I could comment on Wu's peppers, an angel appeared and slapped me in the face. Figuratively, of course. I'd have set my bodyguard on her had she tried. But hootenanny, she was gorgeous. Penelope herself. I tossed my toothpick and removed my baseball cap, and I said, "A pleasure, ma'am, to make your acquaintance. Would you like to scramble dance?" I figured my chances were 50-50. She exploded in laughter, a deep, delicious purple laughter. And then it all went fuzzy. Wu and my assignment, the driver and bodyguard, my failed exams, and my furious father, Tiananmen and the People's Republic. They all faded from my view. All that was left was Lucy, the cowgirl, come to save me. My black cherry soda splattered onto the ground. I looked down, then up, and around, and then back at Lucy. The big blue sky was bursting, and I thought to myself, I think I'll stay with Lucy.